Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Booty Bopper here for just another tier list. I finally got a new microphone in, which I'm excited about. The old one really went out completely poopy, and it was done, so had to go a while without doing a whole lot of anything, but got some new videos that are coming, some more Path of Radiance, no attacking, some more, probably some more Thracia upcoming. Got to get back into that now that I've got the microphone. But today, just to kind of test out the new microphone, see if it's really good, and then also, in the meantime when I was waiting, I finally finished beating Blue Lions on Maddening mode for Fire Emblem Three Houses, so I just wanted to throw up a quick tier list of it. Now, Maddening mode is pretty crazy. Anybody who's tried it probably knows that. It is very, very brutal. I think for a lot of people, one of the most brutal difficulties in Fire Emblem. Certainly that I think a lot of people would try because, once Maddening mode was added, everybody had access to it. You didn't have to do nonsense like beating the game on Lunatic to unlock Lunatic Plus or anything like that. So I know a lot of people giving it a try and just been brutalized by it. So after having beaten it, I'm like, let's go ahead and throw this out. Now, Three Houses is weird because you can use basically everybody. Because you can recruit other characters into different houses and things like that. So for this tier list, just to keep it kind of short, I'm not tiering the entire cast of Three Houses in the context of Blue Lions. I'm just recruiting or tiering the characters that are already in the house and the professors that you can get. Just so that, again, I don't have to break down every single different character in the game, because that would just take forever, so I think this is just an easier way to do it. Now, Maddening mode and the context, this is going to be obviously through the context of Maddening mode, and Maddening is weird, I think, because it is so difficult. But at the same time, the meta ends up, at least the way I approach the game, is how quickly can you beat chapters? Because I find Maddening mode becomes infinitely easier the second you decide to just stop caring about raising units and just start beating chapters as fast as possible. And for that, so warping becomes really good, being Dimitri becomes really good, anybody who can kill bosses, anybody who can dance, anybody who can has really high authority can use things like Retribution with the Kingdom Archers, which, well, actually that's D rank Gambit, but something like Blue Lion Corps of Dancers, if you can use that, super easy. Those are things that are going to make you really good. Other things, early on when we got Three Houses about a year ago, there was, I think, a conception that all the characters were really samey, because on hard mode they kind of are. On hard mode there isn't a ton that differentiates people. Maddening brings out those differences, though, in a hurry. So, the other thing that's going to help characters is, do you have access to, things like Swift Strikes or point-blank volley, these brave combat arts where you can just, massacre dudes. Because the enemies in this game are very tough. They're gonna, there's no enemy phasing in this game, really, with some exception. Any character that can, do enemy phase good should get points for it, but most characters can't. So it's a question of, can you kill bosses? Can you warp? Can you one-round enemies to clear, pathways for your boss killers and warpers to get through? That sort of thing. So let's go ahead and get started. And our first two characters are Byleth, male and female. They are different. I don't find they're different in a significant way. The obvious reason that a lot of people say that female Byleth is better is because she has access to the Pegasus Knight class for Darting Blow, which gives you +6 speed on player phase. And if you're playing, Black Eagles or Golden Deer, you can recruit Sylvain instantly. Now, Sylvain is in the Blue Lions, so that isn't really a thing that helps female Byleth out. And enemies in Maddening are so fast that Darting Blow is never really going to make a huge difference, I find, unless you pump female Byleth full of speed carrots, which is not really worth it. I find that Rocky Burdock's, the gardening stat booster that gives you +1 strength, is just infinitely better. no matter who you're pumping them into, because like this is a game where it's all about, can you one-shot enemies with like effective weapons? Can you like use like brave combat arts and kill dudes? And female Byleth does not have access to any brave combat arts, and male Byleth does, because he can go grappler and have Fierce Iron Fist. And the other thing that I think hurts Byleth, though, because originally people were like, Byleth is the best character in the game. I don't know. Byleth is like kind of hard to use because, you know, people dunk on Dimitri and Dedue for being unavailable for tutoring for like a significant section of the game. But Byleth can like not be tutored with any like amount of comfort until like the second half of the game, when you have so many professor points that you can start doing faculty training. Early game, it is very difficult to get Byleth's, you know, ranks up that you want to get up. And then Byleth just doesn't have many great things that he or she learns through weapon ranks. No swift strikes, no point blank volley, you know, no like crazy spells or anything, no warp or physic or anything like that. And it kind of sucks. So I find Byleth is not as good, certainly on maddening, as, you know, he or she is on other difficulties. However, what does help a lot is Sword of the Creator is a really, really powerful weapon. And Sublime Heaven, I think that's what the combat art was called, is really good at doing a couple things. I find that there are some bosses that it just destroys. Its high crit rate is really nice. Byleth is the easiest character, I think, late game to kill Hubert. If you want to clear the, I don't remember what chapter number it is, but it's the one where you are coming through the city before you go into the castle. It's the next to final chapter of Blue Lions. If you want to one-turn that chapter, which is really, really, really tough, I had to give the DLC Shoes of the Wind to Byleth to be able to do that. But, you know, even if you're doing no DLC, Byleth is one of the best characters to kill Hubert there, because she can reach him super easy. Dimitri's like forced deployment position is really much further away, and with fewer units around, so it's harder to get him the warp and the dances that he needs. So Byleth can do that. Again, Sublime Heaven's really, really good. You can just one-shot any enemy that you want with it. And then obviously, I think the big thing with Byleth is the, you know, Night of the Hunter. What's the fucking chapter called? Not Night of the Hunter. Hunting by Daybreak. The 5-turn of that chapter is like, Byleth is essential to that. And honestly, like, clearing that chapter may be enough for S tier, but for right now, I'm going A tier. And they're honestly probably pretty interchangeable, male and female, on Blue Lions, unless I'm just really tripping, because I find that the Darting Blow isn't all that good and maddening. I guess it technically prevents Byleth from getting doubled, but like, you're gonna always be using Sublime Heaven when you're attacking with Byleth, I find. So like, doubling doesn't really matter. Facing retaliation doesn't really matter, because you need to be one-turning chapters and maddening to have the easiest time. So I'm actually gonna put male Byleth over, because access to grappler, Fierce Iron Fist, I think really good, but debatable. But this is basically clears Hunting by Daybreak. And then you got Dimitri. Dimitri is like one of the silliest characters in the series, I find. He is so ridiculously good. I'm not even gonna wait around. Just put Dimitri in S tier. One of the only characters in the game that can reliably enemy phase, because through his authority rank, he gets Battalion Wrath and Battalion Vantage. I think everybody knows how broken that combo is, because it allows him basically just to get crits on crits on crits without any concern for his well-being, because he's going to kill everything. You throw a retaliation or a retribution on him, he's going to counter everything. You know, he's not going to care about mages, he's not going to care about archers, he's just going to not going to care about siege tomes. If you put retribution on him in the final chapter, he will one-round the meteor mages, which is hilarious, and like the best way to deal with those enemies, because final chapter is one of the few you have to kind of take straight up a little bit. And Dimitri with Battalion Wrath, Battalion Vantage, you give him like some Forged Killer Lances, you give him like hit plus 20. You know, you can do any number of things beyond that. You can give him Alert Stance, you give him, you know, obviously Lance Prowess is really good for extra crit, for extra hit. Anything you do pretty much is going to be really good. Give him a good battalion. Give him like a guard adjutant. Dude's just going to like clobber everyone. And then I haven't even mentioned it yet, like best enemy phase in the game, but also just the best boss killer. A lot of the one turns that you can do in Maddening are like thanks to Dimitri just being able to eat the shit out of bosses. Like, it is disgusting what he does to a lot. There are only a handful of bosses that he's not super reliable at critting, or not critting, at killing. In the Battle of Grandor battle, you know, Claude, he can't really deal with because he's closer to Edelgard, so you got to send somebody else for Claude. And then Edelgard herself, you kind of need, I find, to like go fishing with like a Killer Lance plus crit to be able to like do that. That's a 2-turn chapter when I did it. I'm sure you can 1-turn it if you've got like more warpers or rescue boosting and stuff like that. But and then Archeon, whatever that boss is, because Dimitri's so far away from that guy by the time, because that's like a kill 3 boss. It's the bridge chapter. It's only a handful of bosses he's not really able to handle in like low turn count settings, because he's off either doing other things, so somebody else has got to take care of him, or you just have to kind of rely on a crit. But other than that, like, he just destroys everything. Edelgard in chapter, you know, the final chapter before the time skip, fucking eats Cornelia's ass like corn on the cob. It's like, it is so gross, the things that he does, and it's just ridiculous. One of the best characters in the franchise, probably. And Three Houses can be trivialized so much on Blue Lions because of Dimitri. And then you got Dedue. Dedue is like kind of mad underrated, I think. He's not going to be up here, but like, Dedue gets underrated because he has this moment after the time skip where he's not available for a hot minute. And when he comes back, he's pretty bad for the rest of the game, because he doesn't have the skills that you need to be good in the second half of Three Houses, which is like swift strikes, point blank volley, you know, that type of thing. But early game, really good. One of the few characters that can tank. The +4 defense for waiting is really nice. It allows him, if there's some chapters, like I think it's chapter 6, the underground chapter where you fight the Death Knight the second time, there's a lot of armor knights there, there's a lot of like just really shitty enemies there that like he can just sort of tank like crazy. And then second half of the game, dude can be like a free guard adjutant, very easy to get him there. So kind of a beast, but like not all that great. Probably C tier, because he's completely worthless, I find, the second half of the game, unless you make him a guard adjutant, which has its value, but you don't really need very many of those. And like, you know, we'll see later with Gilbert, he comes in and just is a free guard adjutant as well, although Dedue does it with very little investment as well. And then early game, the thing about Dedue is that he also has Vengeance. I think he's one of the most reliable ways to kill the Death Knight. It's really weird, because Vengeance, unlike someone like Bernadetta, who gets a lot of credit for having Vengeance, Dedue has a ridiculous HP pool that he can draw from and just kill like mad people with Vengeance. Obviously, it's very risky. Vengeance is like very risk-first reward, but like Maddening mode is very risky, and sometimes you just gotta live dangerously. And Dedue can do that really, really well. One-shot the Death Knight in Chapter 6. And he can probably one-shot the Death Knight in Chapter 4, although Chapter 4, killing the Death Knight, is a little difficult, I find, on Maddening, because you have to, like... You have to survive an enemy phase against the Death Knight, unless there's, like, a way that I don't know about, which, by the way, this whole thing's not assuming New Game Plus. We're assuming New Game here. So, like, I don't know if you can get, like, early enough access to, like, Flyer or something to, like, get in, like, hard on the Death Knight without him coming for you. And... So if you like take a couple unlucky crits to the face from the Death Knight, you're not going to be able to really deal with him, but like Dedue can probably kill him there. So one-shotting the Death Knight is awesome. You know, so Vengeance can like kill mad amount of people, but like, you know, you gotta love Dedue. Such a wholesome guy, good guy, but like, not very terrible second half of the game, but serviceable in the first half quite a bit. One of your only reliable tanks early on in Maddening. And then you got Felix, who like everybody would, I think, used to be like Felix, like, oh, he's S tier, he's so good, but like probably somewhere around A or B tier. I'm gonna go B for now. The thing about Felix is that early game, his damage output is really good. One of the few characters that can double some enemies early on, and that is very valuable. The Crest of Fraldarius is just epic because you basically are always adding +5 hit, no matter what, to any attack that you're doing. It doesn't proc all the time, but it procs a lot. And so a lot of people, what they want to do with Felix is they want to give him like gauntlets. And then you're like doubling your chances of getting Crest of Fraldarius. Sometimes you'll get +10 on it. And then the other advantage with gauntlets on Felix is that if you go grappler with him, you get Fierce Iron Fist, and you're attacking 3 times in a turn. You give him like a silver gauntlet, and you're attacking 3 times, and you know he has 3 chances to proc Fierce Iron Fist or proc Crest of Fraldarius on Fierce Iron Fist, and that is just really, really good. His personal skill is also really good early game. When you don't really have enough gambits to give around, and you don't really have ones that boost the attack more. So like, you know, his +5 from being like without a gambit, +5 attack, plus the +5 from Crest of Fraldarius, just really powerful unit early on. Falls off hard though, because Fierce Iron Fist, while it is really good and he makes better advantage of it than a lot of other units because he can modify the damage even further, you really want to like 3 houses. You want to have like either high authority, which he doesn't have, or you want like to fly around and be able to use swift strikes, do shit like that on like a mount, or you want to be able like to attack from range with Hunter's Volley, which he can technically do. Anybody can do it, but because anybody can do it, he doesn't really get special credit for it. Although again, Crest of Fraldarius does make it a little better, so there are things he can do. If you pump him full of speed carrots, you can get him to double everything, which is like whatever. Because there is just going to be a point in 3 houses where like doubling just is out of the question for everybody, because like fuck dude, like 50 speed mortal savants, like just get wrecked. Like you're going to get your ass eaten if you try to go up toe to toe without swift strikes or something against those guys. But still really good character, great early game. We get Ashe here. Oh boy, probably like better than Dimitri. And then you got Sylvain. No, fuck Ashe. Like F tier, maybe? F or D? Probably F. I mean, absolutely. The weird thing about 3 houses units is that like everybody technically is useful to some extent. Because early on you need every drip and drop of damage that you can deal early on. Like in the Red Canyon map or in Chapter 5. Like being able to like have, you know, curve shot is pretty good. Being able to like chunk dudes with bows from a distance is pretty good. But like everybody can do that. Like everybody is useful early game, so like it's hard to say. You can't give Ashe credit for that because his early game is still worse than everybody else because you've got much higher strength units like Felix and Sylvain that you can give like bows and they can do more chip damage with. I think the Ashe, the whole idea is like he's like a thief. He's got lock touch. He can open chests without keys, or without being, you know, in the thief class. But that's very rarely useful. Chest keys are buyable, so it's not really worth anything. The only time, you know, like I think I used him to pick a chest in like it's the chapter where you fight Kronia. I don't remember what number it is. But I had him pick a chest there, and that was like the most he did in the playthrough. But anybody who's a flyer and has a door key can like go do that. So like, no point. Bad. Like just trash. Fucking awful, man. Okay, anyway, like if you know a good use for this guy, let me know because I'd love to hear it. And when you got Sylvain, like fucking beast mode unit, maybe. No, beating Hunting by Daybreak is like way better than anything. Well, Sylvain is really useful for Hunting by Daybreak because he finishes off Pallardo to clear that chapter. But the thing about... Hold on, let me go ahead and readjust the video here. Okay, so Sylvain, like, the big thing about Sylvain is he gets swift strikes. And that's it. Like, that's his thing. He gets swift strikes, really fucking good. Other thing he has access to, obviously, is Lance of... Is it Lance of Ruin? I think that he gets... Obviously, anybody can use it, but he can use it without taking any damage. Not that it matters, everybody gets one rounded in Maddening anyway. but he gets access to the like Ruined Sky combat art, which is ass cheeks. It's not very good. It's, you know, just use Swift Strikes and kill everything. Thing about Maddening is that like the ability to like, everybody has the ability to fly, everybody has the ability to like do all that, like anybody can become your dancer, so it's hard, or just about anybody can, so it's hard to like give somebody credit for that kind of stuff. So it is the special things like Swift Strikes. So Sylvain can fly, and then he can Swift Strike a dude, which is really useful in like chapters where you have to kill multiple bosses. The Battle of Grandor is one. Sylvain is like one of your best options to kill Claude on turn 2. Like just absolutely deck the motherfucker with Swift Strikes. It's just great. It's just great. Because like, again, Swift Strikes is so powerful because, you know, if you like, you have Sylvain from the beginning, you got to send him through the Brigand class, get him Death Blow, and then he's doing plus 12 damage on top of like the Swift Strikes, like, and you're Swift Striking with like a Silver Lance or something, like, or a Horse Slayer against like a tough Paladin or something. Like, he's just, it's over. It's over. He's gonna kill anything that he fights. Not as good as Byleth, because he doesn't have like, he doesn't like trivialize the hardest chapter in the game, which is Hunting by Daybreak. But still really powerful. Can be a good boss killer if you want. Just Swift Strikes. Swift Strikes is an A tier. That's basically what's going on here. Like, Atrocity S tier, Swift Strikes A tier. So good. So good. Okay, then you got Mercedes, who probably we're putting like right here, I'd say. Better or worse than Felix? I don't know. Thing about Mercedes is that her early game is really, really good. Because healing early game is just so necessary. You need every drop of healing you can get. Like, HP is such a valuable resource early on in Three Houses because nobody has it and everyone's dying. So healing is just so good. And then she has super quick access to Physic, which is excellent. It increases, like, it doubles her healing pool and then allows her to heal from range. And Physic never really stops being useful until you get to the point of the game where you're just, you know, one-turning chapters. Then she falls off because then healing is not nearly as necessary. And sort of like anybody can heal. You can get heal on Byleth. You can get heal on like anybody really. Physic is nice. It's really good for chapter 14 actually, which is I think now that I know like the Hunting by Daybreak tricks to like 5-turn it, it's like, it's whatever, but like I find chapter 14 to be the biggest pain in the ass, and she's really good there. Because she like Physic just tops off all your units while you're trying to like survive the infinite Pegasus Knight reinforcements. Like, fuck those guys. So really good. I'd say the fact that she falls off hard second half puts her worse than Felix, but never really terrible, and like so necessary early on, like OD good at the beginning. Then you got Annette. I remember before starting Maddening, I remember when we were looking at the characters, it's like Annette is like going to be the worst character in the game. And this before I really knew much about the kind of meta of Maddening or the things that you want in Maddening. So initially I was like prepared like for D tier unit, but like Annette is like really, really good for one reason, and that's Rally Strength at base. And Rally Strength is my hot take that Rally Strength is worth an A tier? I don't know, but I think so. Because here's the thing. It doesn't cost her an ability slot. So you can still do all your silly Annette builds and your Bolt Axe, Wyvern builds, and whatever you want to do with Annette. It doesn't really matter. She just has Rally Strength for free. And then she gets more rallies. I think Rally Speed when she levels up, but it doesn't really matter because it's Rally Strength or nothing. Rally Strength or bust. And the fucking like being able, like, here's how like a normal flow of a turn is. Like, you buff Dimitri with Rally Strength, then you like go into your Dance and Warp shenanigans to get him over to the boss. And sometimes the Rally Strength isn't necessary, other times it really, really is, because this is in the context of a Growths playthrough. You need like the 4 extra strength, unless you're just really, really blessed or really grinded out some Rocky Burdocks. Like the 4 extra strength, for me at least, brought Dimitri to the exact threshold to one-shot Cornelia with Atrocity. And like that's again after a bunch of Rocky Burdocks. So like Annette's rally strength is gonna help Dimitri reach the thresholds that he needs to kill the fuck out of everyone. And the fact that she just always has that, and you can get her a mount easily, and she can just go around and rally strength anybody, is just absolutely badass. It's so good. Is it deserving of A tier? Maybe not. I'll probably drop her like right. I'll probably put her right here. I think rally strength is A tier, but there isn't enough opportunities to where like it pushes you over the thresholds that you need to one-shot enemies, but it does it enough to where like very valuable. And then Ingrid, and then Catherine, probably right here, maybe above Sylvain. I think the thing about Catherine is that she is so necessary. I cannot imagine doing Chapter 5 without Catherine. I'd recommend anybody plays this game on Maddening, no matter which route you're doing, Catherine, recruit her early to get her by Chapter 5 so that you have the Miquelon Tower covered. The Miquelon Tower is an absolutely brutal slog without Catherine. On lower difficulties, I don't know if you can do it on Maddening. On lower difficulties, you can one-turn the Miquelon Tower by warping, like with Lysithea, you warp Catherine over the ledge at the beginning, she goes and she one-rounds Miquelon, and then you get all your units moved up. Right next to him is a demonic beast, and then you like rig some crits and shit, and you one-round him again, and you like clobber the fuck out of that chapter. On Maddening, I don't know if you can do that. You probably can, if you go fishing for some crits, or give her like forged. I don't know, at that point in the game you probably can't forge the Killing Edge. I don't even know if you can get a Killing Edge that early. But you can probably do some shenanigans. But so good. That's a chapter where enemies are really fast. You got a lot of Poison Strike archers, a lot of enemies in groups that are moving out, and she can just like one round double so many enemies. Her personal skill gives her +5 defense and +5 resistance when she doesn't have a gambit. This is right around the time you're getting a bunch of gambits, but not like a ton of battalions that are giving you like, you know, like really good stat boosts. So like the +5 is super valuable at that point. So she's tanky, she's fast, she doubles everything, she kills everything. Really valuable first half of the game. She falls off really hard in the second half, but God, there's barely anybody that dominates the early game quite as effectively as she does. It's very silly. The thing that hurts her long term is that she doesn't have anything like a Swift Strikes or anything. She is in the Swordmaster class, so she can get Astra pretty easily, but Astra is just not very good. It's, you know, 1.5 times damage, which maybe in some niche scenarios would be enough with like a really powerful sword like a Forged Steel, Silver Axe or something. She could probably one-round some enemies like that, but like, like not really a ton late game, but early game so powerful, so necessary to beat the Miquelon Tower with any type of ease. The ambush spawn thieves with pass in the middle of the map, like she absolutely eats their ass for dinner. Like it is a massacre. So good, and really carries you through the hardest part of the game, which is the early game, chapters 5, and so she's not available for like the mock battle, which sucks. But that map also doesn't have permadeath, so like you can play a little riskier and not have to worry about things as much in that chapter. Not as necessary, but fuck, dude, she massacres the first half of that game. And then Shamir. Shamir is weird because like I think a lot of people really like Shamir, and I like Shamir too a lot. The good thing about her is that she starts as a sniper at base, so it's very easy to get her Hunter's Volley. Like the way I'd recommend going about Shamir is like, you use her as a sniper, you get her Hunter's Volley, and then if you're doing auxiliary battles, during your month, where you're getting like the extra battle experience, you try to like get her certified for Brigand or something, get her, Darting Blow, and then you kind of reclass her back and forth as needed till she gets Darting Blow, and then you like got Darting Blow, Hunter's Volley, she can one round everything. Very, very good. The thing about it though is that anybody can get Hunter's Volley. Like Ashe can get Hunter's Volley. I mean, the problem with like Ashe is that you got to get him like fucking up to like level 20 or something to get Sniper, and it's just like not worth it. But Shamir just does it at base. Like, you still gotta feed her kills. Not really kills, but you gotta have a lot of combat to get there. She, chapter 14 is a great time to do it because there's all those infinite Pegasus Knights, and she can, like, do big dick damage, with steel bow or something, like really chunk them hard, which is nice. Set up kills for other dudes. If they survived, Dimitri, that is, if they didn't die trying to get through him, she can hit him hard. So really, really powerful, but Hunter's Volley is not like exclusive to her, but I'd rank her up this high because she's very low maintenance. You basically get her for free and she's going to be good. Like, so good. Love Shamir. Like, I like Shamir more than Catherine as a character, but like, Shamir you could get for like the Miquelon Tower, but Catherine is the one that just steamrolls it. Like, so good. Then you got Flayn. Flayn is weird. I use Flayn as my dancer. I'm not going to give her credit for that though, because just about anybody can be your dancer. Any of your students can be your dancer. And Flayn, honestly, as my dancer was not the best idea because it kind of took Rescue off of the table. But Rescue is like really, really, really fucking good. In maddening, you can like send somebody in like a Shamir. Like in the final chapter, one thing you can do, you can send like Shamir in, have her one shot Mycen or whatever that dude's name is, which is great because when she you take out that guy, it clears a lot of the enemies off the field. And then you can rescue her back, or you can rescue any of your Hunter's Volley units back. It just really clears up that chapter pretty nice. So Rescue has a lot of, you can rescue boost Warpers, you can rescue boost other units, you rescue boost your Flyers. So like, Rescue is just like a worse version of Warp, but being a worse version of Warp is like being a better version of anything else, because Warp is so overpowered, and Rescue is pretty fucking good too. So Flayn is really, really good for that. And then the other thing too, obviously, I don't want to give credit for being a dancer because, like, anybody can be a dancer, but she has a very easy access to it. She has the charm at base to do it. But I'm not really going to credit her for that. Otherwise, I'd move somebody like Ingrid up higher, maybe. But like, Flayn, rescuing, really fucking good. Maybe not as good as Easy Hunter's Volley, I'd say. So maybe like around here. If she had Physic, I think that would be significantly better. So I actually put her at the bottom of B tier, maybe top of C tier, because Rescue is a little more like, it's a little more situational than Warp. Warp, you can just warp whenever, and it's always going to be good. Rescue's a little more situational. Now, Seteth, though, her big brother is... Oh man, this dude's a fucking beast. It's a question of like, where does he go? He's probably below Sylvain in a growths context, because Sylvain like has the whole game to get Death Blow and like all that, the shit that you want. But Seteth is like, he gets Swift Strikes. That's all you need to know. And he starts, I think, with B+ Lances and B+ Authority, and can be a Cavalier at base. Can reclass into a Cavalier. He comes as a Wyvern Rider, so like with no investment, they just give you this OD good Wyvern Rider, who can almost instantly get Swift Strikes and almost instantly get A rank Authority, and that is so good. That is so overpowered good. Obviously, in the 0% growth, Seteth is one of the best units in the game because, fucking pre-promote mid-game with, like, banging-ass stats and Swift Strikes. The big thing for me, though, his Swift Strikes obviously is really good. It's really good in the final chapter. But the B+ Authority, I think, is, like, kind of underappreciated because getting A rank Authority is pretty tough for a lot of units because they have a lot of other thresholds they're trying to meet, and getting A rank anything takes a lot of investment and a lot of time. Obviously, you can like passively get really high authority throughout the game, but just being able to have that quick access to the Lion Corps of Blue Dancers, or the Blue Lion Corps of Dancers, or whatever it's called, is so good because it means that Seteth is a high move unit at base. You can have him on a horse, you can have him on a wyvern, he can go wherever he wants, dance for 4 people at once. He can dance for your dancer. That is so good. Obviously, anybody can use Blue Lion Corps of Dancers, but he can use it with basically no investment. Obviously, he has to reclass to a Cavalier to be able to do it because it's a ground one, but the fact that he has Cavalier unlocked at base means that, like, fuck, you just 7 or 8 move, like, go wherever you want and dance for 4 dudes at once. That's overpowered good. Now, obviously, again, other characters can do it, but to get as much out of it you know, anybody else with like really good authority, like Annette or Ingrid, they're going to have to go Cavalier, and that's just not really what they want to be doing. Annette wants to be rallying, Ingrid wants to be sitting on the bench, so like Sethith just like does so much, especially if you're playing like really fast and you're one-turning a lot of chapters. Just really, really excellent at doing all the shit you want him to do, man. So good, just so good. Like, dude, this guy, oh, what a beast. Okay, then Hanneman. This one's gonna make me really sad. It's gonna make me really, really sad, but like, kinda butt cheeks. Like, a lot bad. Fuck, dude, Hanneman, it's a shame. Hanneman has an interesting toolkit for hard mode, but like for maddening mode, it just doesn't work out. I think the best thing about Hanneman is that he has warding shot, which casts silence on an enemy. It's a bow combat art that casts silence, and like that's just really fucking good. Like in hard mode, because you can like shut down a mage, and you would think it'd be good in maddening mode, but by the time, you know, you don't really have a whole lot of time where you're doing that. The chapters where you have to stick around longer don't really have a lot of mages that need to be silenced. And then the final map, Hanneman's just going to get roasted turn 1 by Edelgard's like siege tome. Like, so like he's just going to die. Like, there's not a whole lot he can really do. He's better than Ashe. Everybody's better than Ashe. But he just really, really, really struggles to get anywhere, and it makes me sad because I really like Hanneman. I think he's a fun character. I have a thing for the old man character. I'm a big old man kind of guy, and you know, just oh man, it makes me sad. I don't know. I don't know what you would do with this guy. Maybe there's a trick. Maybe there's something. But like he doesn't have like a good white magic spell pool. His like black magic is good, but again, like the key is like you need things like death spikes or swift strikes or anything that like one rounds things, and he just doesn't have that in maddening. Obviously he's much better at lower difficulties, but this is a maddening tier list, like just not very good. And then we got Manuela here, who's like an easy S tier, and I think that might be the hottest take of the video, but anybody that has warp is S tier in maddening mode. It's as simple as that, folks. Like you can say, oh, you know, Linhardt's a better warper, Lysithia's a better warper, like, and perhaps that's true, but like, it doesn't matter. The magic range on warp is just like, since it's magic divided by 4, all the warpers are good warpers, and so the way like any map is gonna go is like you're gonna warp your boss killer somewhere. Like, Dimitri doesn't deserve all the credit for killing the bosses because he had to get there. And the fact that Manuela can just add, like, 6 movement, 7 movement to Dimitri in a turn, the fact that you can, like, move Dimitri, dance for him, then warp his ass with Manuela, that is so busted good. Now, it's not as good as Dimitri, because obviously Dimitri's out there doing the dirty work with Atrocity and Ariadbar and killing everything, and Battalion Wrath, Battalion Vantage, but, like, Manuela is part of the reason why you can skip almost every chapter of Maddening. Now, obviously, again, you can recruit Linhardt, you can recruit Lysithia, but it would be the same conversation there. And the more warpers you have, the better, because then you can warp your warpers and warp your dancers and warp Dimitri, and you've got no problem, and warp your rescue boost warpers. And warp is really silly, and it's really fun in Three Houses, and it's just so good. And like, it's funny seeing this large gap between Hanneman and Manuela, because I think early on with Three Houses, we just thought Manuela bad, but like warp is broken. It's so broken. And then we got Cyril, D tier probably. Well, I don't know if it's really fair. Cyril doesn't bring a whole lot to the table, but he does bring easy access to Wyvern Rider and Point Blank Volley. And Point Blank Volley is a really good combat art. The issue for Cyril is that like his bases are ass cheeks, so he's not doing a ton of damage with Point Blank Volley, and then bows are pretty weak. But he can one-round some flyers, and one-rounding flyers has its value, but there's just not a lot of chapters where he's going to be available to do that. He's not going to be there for Hunting by Daybreak, to where he can fly around. Chapter 14 is really the only time there's flyers that you need to one-round, so he can be good there, and I give him a lot of credit for that. But, like, I I mean, like, he just doesn't do a whole lot. I think on hard mode, he is significantly better because you can, like, kind of grow out of having bad stats in hard mode. But maddening mode doesn't care a whole lot for your stats unless you're like Dimitri with 55 strength. In which case it's all about, you know, swift strikes. Point blank volley's good, but he's just not strong enough to take mad advantage of it. And bows just aren't strong enough, and he doesn't have the bow rank of someone like Shamir to really, like, you know, ice dudes with silver bows and whatnot. So, like, it's just not there for the poor guy. I mean, Cyril's not going to be terrible, but if you're, like, playing maddening mode in the fastest way possible, he's just not going to have a whole lot of opportunity to really shine. And I actually just realized I forgot Alois, so I will be back in 1 second when I grab him. Alright, so we grabbed us some Alois, and I went ahead and threw the DLC characters in here as well, because I wasn't thinking about them earlier, but I might as well look at them. Alois is pretty good because he's got stats that are pretty good at base, but he doesn't have a whole lot really that he can offer. He's very slow. He's got a little bit of tankiness, which is alright. But I really find that with Alois, he has like a limited time in the sun where he's like fine, and then like he just kind of dips. Which probably puts him, at least in the context of a growths playthrough, probably somewhere around here. He's like not terrible, but like he doesn't bring a whole lot to the table. Like if you're like 0% growthing the game, then he's like really good. But like this isn't the one game where it's hard to like use that as like an argument for characters, I find, because so many units in this game are growth units. Like it's so silly. And Alois doesn't get a ton of great shit for his weapon ranks. He doesn't have a whole lot of great combat arts. One of the sillier things you can do though with him that I find funny is that he has Exhaustive Axe, which is like normally kind of terrible because it uses up all the remaining durability on an axe and adds 30% of that durability to might. What you can do is buy like a really cheap weapon like a mace and have him one shot like a tough armor knight or something, which is pretty funny. But other than that, like, I feel like D tier's wrong, honestly. Like I'll probably put him there. He's better in the second half than Dedue, so like it depends on what you want. Dedue's there to like get you through the early game, but Alois can like do some shit in chapter 14, which is really, really nice. So right there, probably I'm fine with. I originally was like D tier because I feel like these are close. Depends on what you value more. Man, I really like Dedue, but I like Alois too, so like, yeah, right there, we'll settle for right there. And then Gilbert, like, I think a lot of people don't like Gilbert. Very understandably, on hard mode, he's like, whatever, because like, Armor Knight is like bad in that difficulty. What Gilbert does that's good is that at base he has Smite, which allows you much easier time like one-turning the floor is lava chapter, because you can smite like Manuela or something and like then get a better warp on Dimitri and have him get over to that boss and like just annihilate him. So Smite is really good at base with no investment. And being an Armor Knight in general is pretty good because chapter 14 it allows him to tank a little bit, survive a couple rounds of combat, really choke that left side of the map, I find, really well. He does that because nobody else can really survive there. And then he's a guard adjutant when you want one, like on Dimitri. And that's pretty good. Being a guard adjutant is pretty good with no investment. But again, like he doesn't bring the skill sets that get you into the higher tier. He doesn't have like a moment where he's like a ridiculously good combat unit like Catherine. He doesn't have swift strikes like Sylvain and Sedith. Like doesn't have the authority to use really good battalions like, you know, Blue Lion Corps of Dancers. Doesn't have access to or easy access to like a high move class, so like really kind of struggles to like help you one turn. But the chapters where he is useful as like a guard adjutant, like the final chapter, or where you can use his tanking a little bit, like in chapter 14, he's pretty good. But overall, that's not a ton of utility. And then obviously Smite, but you know, not going to do a whole lot else for you. He doesn't have the early game utility of Dedue, so like I think worse. And then the DLC characters. So Constance is like fine. She's good. Early game, chunk people, attack resistance, that's alright. Not a whole lot to her. She fades. She does get a siege tome, which is nice. getting a siege spell is really nice, but in maddening, they're not super useful because you're very rarely wanting to snipe bosses. Bosses are so far away that, like, you're not going to get to snipe a whole lot of dudes with it. It's pretty inaccurate. Enemies are really dodgy, so maybe, like, you get hit plus 20 on her, and that's pretty good. Maybe. But, honestly, more useful for the early game chunk than, like, the late game siege tome. So, you know, alright, she does work. She's better in the early game than, you know, a lot of other people. And then, like, Yuri is... The thing about Yuri that I like is that, you know, he has access, and Byleth does this too, but he has very quick access to the Windsweep combat art, which early on in the game is really nice because Windsweep is a sword combat art that cancels an enemy's retaliation, so you don't have to take a hit back. And that's really, really nice early game maddening because you want to avoid damage as much as possible. And having just an extra option that's strong enough to do, like, good damage while not taking retaliation is quite nice. It's quite nice. But it's not as useful. Like, I'd rather have the range chunk than the Windsweep. So, like, maybe right there, probably, for Yuri. Pretty good. Then we got the himbo himself, Balthus. Balthus, fucking love Balthus. Like, what a bro. Very tanky, like, more tanky than Dedue, probably. Early on, like, has, you know, he can be tanky and also has, like, good faith. So, like, he can heal some people. He can take, like, not a lot of damage. I mean, that's pretty good. Like, I don't know what more you want. I find that, like, with the DLC characters, they don't have a whole lot that differentiates them from other units. Other than, like, I think they got pretty cool designs, and Balthus is awesome, but, you know, I mean, definitely better, like, probably right around there. Like, I find the DLC characters tend to be underwhelming long-term, but help you out early game, is how they go. The best of them, though, is probably Happy, not only because she's mad thick in the Cypher art, but because Physic, and Physic is good early game. Maybe better than Mercedes? Possibly. Well, Mercedes has the Red Canyon, and being able to heal in the Red Canyon is way better than not being able to heal in the Red Canyon, so Happy's worse. But still, Physic bot, B tier. Early game Physic, good. That's good. And then Anna, probably the worst character in the game. I have tried, actually I'm doing a hard mode playthrough where I'm trying to make Anna my boss killer so that I can trivialize Golden Deer with her. And, like, even on hard mode, it's somewhat of a struggle to do it because I just want to try using Anna and making her good. On maddening mode, there's just nothing she can do except just get roasted by every enemy, get, like, wrecked to pieces. No good combat arts that make her stand out. You know, same shit as everybody else. Honestly, maybe a little better than... Nah, she's not better than Ashe. Like, Anna's just trash. Because Ashe, at the very least, can help you with linked attacks. He's got supports. Anna's, like... The only thing Anna ever contributed is that the one? Like, memes. That's what she's got. Which memes are, like, pretty good. Like, you know, thanks a bunch, but... And all that. That's all she got. Well... that was just a quick tier list. It probably wasn't that quick. It was probably slightly over an hour. I'm not sure. But, hey, you know, that's Blue Lions Maddening. If you got any thoughts on it, drop them in the comment section below. I'm sure I'm making mad scrub mistakes here, obviously. So tell me how wrong I am in the comments. Send me hate mail. I would love to hear it. But with that, I will see you all next time for whatever video comes out next. Hopefully something good. Well, it's not hopefully, you know it's gonna be something good. But we'll see you then. Bye.